What I wanted to do was, first of all, tell you that we're really thrilled that Rosa was willing to come here. It was through the efforts of Rick, raise your hand, Rick and Mary Hebert, that we got Rosa here. And Rosa has spoken now at 3 different events. Yesterday she spoke in front of 17 or 18 of our state reps. Wish there were more there. It's very important. But we do know that the state reps are on board. They've initiated the bill. It passed the House, but it didn't pass the Senate. That's your job. You got to start making some noise. It's really that critical. We have the guns in our state legislature to get this done, and we have to get it done. This is an American issue. It's not a Republican-Democrat issue. And Rosa's a liberal Democrat. She'll tell you that. I'm a conservative Republican. A lot of you in this room probably are conservatives. It doesn't matter. This is America, and we are about to lose our sovereignty, our liberty, our freedom, and our property rights. That's the truth. And Rosa will give you a lot of facts, a lot of information, but her book is wonderful. And I hope if you haven't purchased one, buy 1, 2, or 3, because you got to get the word out. I'm on my 2nd reading. So please do that before you leave if you don't have one now. The information in there is invaluable. But there's a lot more information out there that you can grab. Google it, but get on board. I'm going to get right to it. Rosa Koire is ASA is a forensic commercial real estate appraiser, and she specializes in eminent domain valuation. Her nearly 30 years of experience analyzing land use and property value enabled her to recognize the planning revolution sweeping the nation. While fighting to stop a huge redevelopment project in her city, she researched the corporate, political, and financial interests behind it, and she found United Nations Agenda 21. Rosa speaks across the nation and is a regular blogger on her website, Democrats Against UNAgenda21.com. Please give a great Live Free or Die welcome to Rosa Koire. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Woo! All right. Now, you're not fooling me. I know that you know you're going to be sitting here for an hour and a half, and that's your last chance to get up and move around. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I've had a fabulous time here in New Hampshire, and really seriously thinking about moving here because I love New Hampshire, love the people. I've met great people here. What a terrific, just to have Live Free or Die on your license plate, that is just so great, right? And you mean it. And that's important, because we all mean it, really. That's what it's all about, really. So, because, there are many ways to die, but there's only one way to live, and that's free. So I do appreciate your commitment to private property rights, and I know that you know that our bodies are our most important private property. Yes. So what we're talking about here, now I just want to tell you really quick about myself so that I can dispel all of that black helicopter stuff, all of that tinfoil hat stuff, right off the bat. That is so yesterday, okay? Because what we're talking about here, what we're going to talk about tonight, that is not a conspiracy theory. We're talking about a conspiracy fact. And if we can understand objective reality, then we can recognize that what I'm talking about tonight is factual. I am a commercial real estate appraiser, and my specialty is eminent domain valuation. For the last 30 years, I've been a district branch chief for the Department of Transportation in California, and I do, I'm an expert witness. I do litigation support. So when you do that, when you're testifying and when you're being deposed in court, you have to understand that everything that you're doing has to be defensible in court. You have to be able to defend your point of view in court. Now this is even more so. This is even more important because what we're talking about here is not my opinion. We're talking about fact. And everything I'm going to talk about tonight is factual. If I'm speculating on something, I'll let you know. So Let's see. We're going to see if I can see past my nose here. I want you to know that I understand that as Americans, you are going to find yourselves deeply opposed to and completely at odds with the agenda for the 21st century. And that is what it's called by the United Nations and by all of the nations that signed on to it in 1992. That's why it's called Agenda 21. It's the agenda for the 21st century. And it's not Area 51, it's not Catch 22, it's Agenda 21. That's not what I call it, that is what it's called by the United Nations and the world. It's a blueprint. It is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all minerals, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. Inventory and control. Now, we are seeing it now. We have been going through the inventory phase, and we are still there, but we are moving into the control phase. It's a transition from representative government to government by unelected boards and commissions. It's the erasure of our jurisdictional boundaries. It's a loss of private property rights, our sovereignty, and our freedom. You know, obviously, we're going to be concerned about this, not just as Americans, but as free people in the world. This is a worldwide global plan. United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development was signed on to by 179 nations, including the United States, in 1992 at the UN Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. George H.W. Bush signed us on. It's an agreement. It's not a treaty. It's soft law. George H.W. Bush signed us on to it, and it has been supported by all the presidents ever since. It's a global plan. So, what you need to know about this, you're going to hear tonight. United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. It's far more than that. It is a recipe for our destruction. It enables and justifies monitoring and metering and restricting our energy and water usage, and you'll see that as smart meters. Instituting a carbon tax on industry, pulverizing our roads and destroying our dams, sinking our economy, exhausting our military with endless war, diagnosing a huge portion of our population with mental illness and drugging us, bleeding our transportation budget with high-cost trains to nowhere, revamping our school system from pre-kindergarten all the way to postgraduate school to include sustainable development principles in every course, declaring our public lands off limits to humans, changing every land use document in the nation to require high-density housing so that we can be more easily monitored, surveilled, and controlled. It allows for warrantless searches and domestic surveillance, and identifies us as potential enemy combatants in our own country. You know, if an enemy was trying to destroy us, it couldn't do a better job. This is the erection of a corporatocracy. It is a global totalitarian state, and it is in progress right now. Now, I know that it sounds crazy. This might sound like overheated rhetoric, and I really wish that it was, but it isn't. And I will show you this evening, if you haven't already heard about this, how exactly this is happening right now, right here in New Hampshire and all across our country. There's an overarching political and social philosophy that goes with United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development, and it is communitarianism. Communitarianism says that the individual's rights have to be balanced with the rights of the community. Now, we are Americans. We know that we have our individual rights. We're guaranteed our individual rights by our Constitution. Our rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Those are not rights granted to us by our government. They can't be taken away or granted by our government. We were born with those rights. But when you look at communitarianism, our individual rights have to be balanced with the rights of the community. That is for the greater good, for the common good. So what are the rights of the community? They are undelineated, they're unwritten, they can change at any time, they are granted and can be taken away. So when you think about balancing those rights, balancing your individual rights with the rights of the community, and that could be your local community, that could be your state, your region, your nation, or in most cases, we're talking about the global community, the global community. So you balance those rights. The individual's rights are always going to be like a feather, and the community's rights will be like a brick. The individual's rights are always carry less weight than the weight of the community. So I like to do this visual because I think it really kind of helps to imagine, to see what it looks like when your individual rights are balanced with the right of the community. So we're going to take two clear glasses. One of them is a glass of water, and that is your constitutional republic. That's what we have here in the United States. Then you're going to have your other glass, and that is a communitarian state. That's a glass of milk. So communitarian states are Communist Russia, Communist China, Nazi Germany. It's all for the common good. It's all for the fatherland, right? It's all for the homeland. That's a communitarian state. So you're going to take these and you're going to balance them. So we're going to get a clear glass pitcher. We're going to put it down here, and we're going to balance our constitutional republic, individual rights, with the rights of the community, the communitarian state. We're going to balance those. You put those together, what do you have? You got milk. You've balanced your individual rights with the rights of the community, and they have been lost, subsumed into the rights of a communitarian state. And this is what it looks like. So, Agenda 21 is dependent on the Hegelian dialectic, and that's when a crisis is created and a solution is posed. And the balance between these two becomes the new normal. Now, you never would have agreed to that new normal if it hadn't been for this crisis, right? The crisis pressures the acceptance of the solution that is now the new normal. So, what's our crisis? Global warming, climate change is our crisis, okay? Global warming, climate change. It's really serious. The planet is in danger. This is what you'll hear. Biodiversity is threatened. The planet is heating up. The oceans are acidifying. You're going to need a snorkel to get out of bed in 100 years. So, this is really serious. Panic, chaos, collapse. You get that sense that things are really, really about to happen, that if you don't do something soon, if you don't do something quick, your life is going to be in danger. That kind of panic, that kind of sense of chaos is essential for communitarian rule because it requires you not to be able to think clearly and to merely act or be acted upon. So I'll tell you, in our local newspaper, I'll give you an example of what it looks like. Here it is. It's hard to deny that the Earth is functioning well over capacity. Like an overworked horse, it's simply a matter of time before the global organism collapses. Right? You feel that? Feel that panic? Feel that? All intelligent people agree that it's our fault. Your greedy, wasteful, selfish ways have made this happen, and we have almost destroyed the planet. But here comes the UN to the rescue, right? Here it is. We're going to save the planet. In 1987, the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development, the Brundtland Commission, came up with a book. It's called Our Common Future. Now, I know that all of you have probably heard the term sustainable development now, right? You think you know what sustainable development is. It's development that's sustainable or something like that, right? Must be a good thing. You don't want to be unsustainable, do you? So, what people don't realize who are talking about sustainable development is that it came from the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987. That is where the term was coined and defined. And what it is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, who would not want to make sure that future generations would not be able to meet their needs, right? I mean, here we are in one of the original 13 colonies. Do you think they, landed here in 16 whatever and said, let's do whatever we can to make sure that those people in 2012 won't be able to meet their needs? Nobody was thinking like that, and we aren't. But here we go. We have development that meets the needs of the present and compromises the ability of future generations to meet their needs. That's what the UN said, is that everything we're doing now is indeed compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And they said to the Brundtland Commission, can you come back in 5 years and bring us the action plan for dealing with sustainable development? And that's what they did. Here it is. This is Agenda 21, the United Nations Program of Action from Rio. It's 300 pages, it's 40 chapters. You can get it yourself, un.org, $25, and take a look at it. It itself is the green mask. Many things in it look nice, but remember, it is an inventory and control plan, and that is what it is designed to do. It covers every aspect of your life. So the Secretary General, Maurice Strong, at the time, he said, he was the chair of the Brundtland Commission. He told the UN what was considered to be unsustainable. The affluent middle-class lifestyle that you either enjoy or aspire to is considered to be unsustainable. Single-family residences, private vehicles, appliances, air conditioning, livestock, dams, tillage are considered to be unsustainable. They're considered to be a threat to the planet. Now, what we're looking at is the 3 pillars. This is part of Agenda 21. You'll see this a lot of places. You're going to see social equity, the environment, and ecology. No, the environment and economics. Social equity, the environment, and economics. And this is the logo of Agenda 21. You're going to see it as these 3 circles, right? It kind of looks, it's a Venn diagram. It looks like a piece of the Olympic symbol, right? It's 3 circles that cross, and where they meet in the center, that's totally sustainable. That's where everything's in balance. Okay, it looks like this. I don't know if you can see it. It's 3 circles. Now, you're going to see that, I'll show it to you in another place in a minute. So what you're looking at is social equity, which means that no one has any more than anyone else, in balance with the economy and the environment. This plan involves economics, housing, transportation, land use, health, water, energy, food production, and population control. China has their own Agenda 21 plan. They were one of the signatories. They are working on a sterilization vaccine with the United States. So Agenda 21 is dependent on the precautionary principle. It's principle number 15. And you got to think about this for a minute. Because if you're thinking, let's say you're a skeptic about something like climate change or global warming, and you say, well, I've got 10 scientists over here that say that No, I have 20. No, I have 100. No, I've got 1,000. Well, I've got 30,000. No, I have 60,000. Doesn't matter because of the precautionary principle. And what that says is that if an action or a policy has a suspected risk of being harmful to the public or the environment, in the absence of scientific consensus that it is harmful, it falls on the party wishing to take the action to prove that it is not harmful. How's that, huh? You're guilty until proven innocent. Now, in the European Union, they use that to make law. In the United States, we call it the precautionary approach, and it only makes policy. But it is having an impact on your life right now. So, as I said, it's a global plan, but it's implemented locally. And you're going to see it as, well, you'll see it in many ways locally, but you're going to see the terms capacity building, you'll see strengthening communities, you're going to see consensus building, vibrant, walkable, bikeable, green, sustainable, conversation, transformation, change. All of these terms are jargon terms that were designed just for you. So in 1992, the Rio Earth Summit, Bush and 179 other world leaders signed it. And then in November of 1992, Clinton was elected. So about 6 months later, well, he took office in January, and about 6 months later in June, he created the President's Council on Sustainable Development. And that was tasked with implementing United Nations Agenda 21 in the United States. That is exactly what it was tasked with doing. So the first thing that they did was they gave a multi-million-dollar grant to the American Planning Association, because you're going to see this as a land use plan, primarily. It will come into your town as part of your comprehensive plan, your master plan, as a scenic byway, as some element of climate action plan. You will see it as a restriction on your use of land. So how does that happen? The American Planning Association was given a multi-million-dollar grant by the President's Council on Sustainable Development. And that was made up of 12 cabinet-level federal agencies, including HUD, EPA, the Department of Education, Department of Energy, Transportation, Defense, Interior. Now, their job was to implement Agenda 21 administratively and change their policies so that they were in alliance with Agenda 21. That happened. The federal agencies, the main federal agencies of the United States, brought their policies into alignment with Agenda 21. But they said, no, we want to make sure this gets into every city, county, and state across the entire United States. It's not enough to have it just be federal. So they gave that grant to the American Planning Association to come up with a book so that they could get these policies into every single municipality. And they did that. This is the cover of it. It's a 12-pound book, so I didn't bring it with me. 12 pounds, 2 volumes. It's called Growing Smart, Legislative Guidebook with Model Statutes for Planning and the Management of Change. Now this book has exactly what it says it has in it, model statutes. When you go into your planning department or you see your city is instituting new policies, new statutes, new laws, new restrictions on your land use, they're coming out of this book. Your planning department isn't writing these. They're coming out of this book. So one thing that happened was, growing smart is smart growth. When you see that term smart growth, this is where it's from. So they said, we're going to get this out all across the United States. We're going to have it in every single university, every college. If you want to be a planner, you're going to study this book. They said, you know, the United States people, the people of our country, they might not like it when they find out that they've been manipulated. So we need to have them think that this is all their plan. We need them to think that this is their idea. So they came up with another book, and it's called Sustainable America, A New Consensus. Now you know what consensus is, right? Consensus means that if we all get together, this big group, and we decide that we want to work on an issue, we're going to stay in a room and we're going to talk about it, and everyone's going to be heard until we come to an agreement. Consensus is agreement by all parties on a plan, agreement of all parties. But the new consensus from the President's Council on Sustainable Development, the new consensus is neutralization of the opposition, neutralizing your enemies. This is a communitarian technique, neutralizing the opposition. So you'll see it when you go into a visioning meeting. You're going to go to Vision 2020, Your Town 2035. You'll see it at Granite State Future, Plan New Hampshire. You're going to come on down. Give us your opinion on this new plan for the center of your city. And you go in there. You've got little tables set up. Oftentimes it's in an elementary school. So you got your knees up against the top of the desk and you're feeling kind of little. You got your crayons, you got your gold stars. And they do their presentation and you're supposed to put your gold stars on whatever you think's a good idea. The way these work is, do you like it, and do you like it a real lot? It's not, what do you think about this plan? Should there be a plan? Is this necessary? Is there a way to stop this plan? Is there anything that we can do to stop this plan? And I'll tell you what, there isn't, because they are using the Rand Corporation mind control technique called the Delphi Technique. Now, the Delphi Technique was developed in the 1950s by the Rand Corporation, and the sole purpose of this is to bring groups of people to a predetermined outcome while giving them the idea, the sense that it was all their idea. This is your plan. That's what it's about. So what do? They use manipulation. They use communitarian techniques where if you don't like that plan, they will shame you, they will embarrass you, they will call you out. They will take your idea, put it on a big piece of paper up at the front, and throw it out later. That's the Rand control, the mind control technique, the Delphi technique. You can anti-Delphi these meetings, and we tell you how to do this, and it's very effective, and people are doing it now all across the country. So what happens? One of the ways that they do it is by subverting your neighborhood associations, by bringing in people or bringing up people in your neighborhood, in your community, who can be counted on to support these plans. And what does it take? A pat on the back, an appointment to a board, a thank you from the mayor, whatever it takes. And they are going to push smart growth, because this is what this plan is all about. It's about moving people out of rural and suburban areas and into the city centers where they can be more easily managed. So in case you thought I was making this up, I want you to see this. This is Rescue Mission Planet Earth, a children's guide to Agenda 21. It's by Boutros Ghali, former Secretary General of the United Nations, and the Children of the World. This is great. It's this little book, The Children of the World. I'm sure they got their royalties from this. Inside this book, there's this book is designed to make children feel that they are destroying the planet. It says the planet groans every time it registers another birth.